Hey everyone out there in vinyl community land, this is Mark with Vinyl Crush, and we're going to do an episode of Now Playing today. I'm going to show a bunch of records I've been listening to recently. Many of them are recent finds that I just been listening to a lot, so I thought I'd show some of them. I'm going to start off with some nice mellow stuff and lean slowly into the darker side of music at the end with a little jazz mini Grail at the end. So it's going to start off kind of slow and then just kind of fizzle out altogether. That's a little music trivia for you. Please, if you know where that quote came from, put it in the comments below and we'll see if anybody knows where that came from. So I'm going to start off with some music, and if you like what you see today, please subscribe, ring the bell if you want to be notified, give it a like, leave a comment. Any support would be appreciated. So I'm going to dive in. The first record that I have for you today is Simon & Garfunkel, Sounds of Silence. This is their second album. In reality, it's kind of their third album. When they were very young, they actually produced a song and put out a record under the name Tom and Jerry. Didn't really do a lot, so they broke up. And then when folk music became popular, they decided to do an album together. Beautiful harmonies, and so they did an album called Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. With the original version of Sounds of Silence on that album, which is an acoustic version, very beautiful. The album didn't do well, so they broke up again. They gave up and kind of went their different ways. But the song Sounds of Silence kind of kept staying on the playlist for some people. So the producer, without Simon & Garfunkel's permission or without letting them know, decided to take it back in the studio and overlay some drums and electric guitars onto the song, and it turned into a hit. It just took off. So then they came back again and made another album, Sounds of Silence, to support the new hit single, the new improved rockin' Sounds of Silence. This album is a original pressing. Columbia 2i labels with Unbreakable on there. The very first pressing of this album actually doesn't have the song titles listed here. It's just blank. Just the very, very first pressing. And I would love to find a copy of that. But original pressing is good enough for me. This album has Sounds of Silence, I Am a Rock. It's very well produced. The backup musicians, most of them were from the Wrecking Crew. So really just an incredible album. I love listening to this again. While I was shopping for that record, I had it under my arm and I walked by and I saw in the as-is bins, which I never really looked through, an album cover that I had to take a look at. It was beautiful colors and textured sleeve. I knew the album, but I'd never seen it look so beautiful before, and I thought it might be a European pressing of something. So another Simon & Garfunkel third album, Parsley, Sage, Rosemary and Thyme, also came out in '66. This is a first UK press. Beautiful colors. The black and all the colors are really nice on here. It has a textured cover. The songs on here include Scarborough Fair, Cloudy, beautiful harmonies on these songs. There's a really wonderful sound collage called 7 p.m. News and Silent Night. And Charlie O'Donnell, who was a game show host, sort of does a mock version of the 7 o'clock news while Simon & Garfunkel sing a beautiful harmonized version of Silent Night. It's very beautiful and very kind of eerie. It's a great song. Also on here is the 59th Street Bridge song, Feeling Groovy. Loved that song since I was a kid. This is the first pressing from the UK. And when I got it, it was in the as-is bins for $1. The cover was delaminated along the top here, which is pretty easy to fix, but the record was really dirty and kind of grimy and stuff. But for $1, I thought I'd give it a shot. Took it home, cleaned it up, and it sounds beautiful. So feel very lucky for that. Then heading into the rock and roll side of things, the psych rock, I found a copy of The Doors' LA Woman. I have a first US pressing of this album. The first pressings have a window here with cellophane, and the yellow is actually the inner sleeve for the record, so it's an original sleeve too. And the ones that came out after the first pressing just have just all a print. There's no actually cellophane window there. I have a first pressing of the US pressing of this album that I bought that was just really beautiful. It's really clean, but when I got it home, there was a very loud pop at the end of one of my favorite songs, and I could not clean it. I couldn't get it off. So I started looking for another copy. Found this. This is the first UK pressing on Elektra. Has the beautiful Madagascar sunset moth on the label, the name of which was pointed out to me by my wife. This album came out in '71. It was the Doors' 6th album. It was their last album because Jim Morrison died about 3 months after this album was released. Has the hit Love Her Madly. Great song. It also has Riders on the Storm, which is such an amazingly beautiful song. So eerie, so dark. The production on all of these songs is amazing. If you're not familiar for some reason with this music, please check it out. LA Woman is also on here, and there's a song before LA Woman called Cars Hiss By My Window that is this really cool, interesting blues song that I just love, and that was the one that popped on the other version of this that I had. Anyway, great album. Really happy to find another pressing of this. The next two albums I want to show you are, I want to talk about a song on each of them, a little story about them. And the first one I want to show you is one that I actually had in my possession when I was a kid. And when I started doing these videos, my sister, who now lives in Germany, watched one of them, and we got on the phone and we're talking, and she said, you know, I have some of your records from when we were kids that you kind of left behind and I picked up. And this was one of them. Chaka Khan, Rags to Rufus, with Chaka Khan and Rufus. This was, I think, was their second album together, and this came out in 1975, and it won a Grammy. The song Tell Me Something Good is on here, which is an amazing hit, really funky song. I really love this song. And I have a friend of a friend who's in the music business who told me when I was listening to this song a story that I didn't know at the time, which is that when they were in the studio producing this album, Stevie Wonder popped in. Apparently they had done a good job on a version they did of one of his songs on their first album, or on their previous album. I'm not sure it was the first. And so he showed up in the studio, surprised them, and said, here's a song. Why don't you do this song? And 20-year-old Chaka Khan, being the diva that she is, said she didn't like it. She rejected it. And Stevie Wonder was kind of shocked, and he went home and wrote a response to being rejected, writing the song, Tell Me Something Good. Tell me that you like it. So now when I hear this song, I think about that story, and I hear this song from a totally different perspective, and I enjoy it even more. Great album, funk and soul. Chaka Khan has an amazing voice. She's a powerhouse. Highly recommend hearing that. The next album is one that I just found recently, and also has a song that I have a story for, 10cc, the original soundtrack. The song on here is called I'm Not in Love, which I think is one of the most beautiful pop songs. The lyric is really, really fascinating, singing a love song called I'm Not in Love, where he's telling a story about he's trying to convince this girl that all the things he's doing that shows that he loves her aren't really because he loves her. But of course, obviously he's in denial. When the 10cc has two songwriting duos, and one side of the duo writes mostly pop music, and the other side of the duo writes mostly experimental and art rock, art pop. And so they have fascinating albums. Their music goes all over the board. It's not just pop music, for sure. Some of it's almost progressive. But the pop side of the duo, the songwriting duos, wrote I'm Not in Love, and they got in the studio and they played around with it. And they were thinking of it as a bossa nova song, and it just never really took off. they liked the melodies had something to it, but they just couldn't make it work, so they put it aside. And they brought it out one more time, and the experimental side of the songwriting teams said, well, listen, if we're going to do this, we should do something really, really different. And they suggested that they do the song with all vocals. And I guess they asked a cappella, and he said, no. We'll actually do all of the music in vocals. So we'll just layer and layer and layer and layer in loops, different vocals, so that all the harmonies and everything else is all done in voices. And so they laid down a basic track with a drum and a keyboard and a guitar and a bass and singing, and just so they had something to go by when they were doing all these vocals, and they just started layering vocals. And if you listen to this song, it sounds almost like there's a synthesizer, but it's not. It's actually all vocals. It's quite beautiful. And when they got done with that and started listening to it, they realized that the basic track that they had laid down was perfect, and they accidentally created this most incredible love song. I really think it's just one of the most perfect love songs. So this is I have an original first pressing. It has in it the I'll show you the original lyric sheet insert, and there's the inside of the cover, and I'll show you the back side as well. So beautiful album, beautiful. Highly recommend checking this out. It's not for everybody because it really has a lot of kind of art, experimental pop in it, but I'm Not in Love is such an incredible song, and hearing it now, knowing this story, really makes it even better. They made a making of video of the song I'm Not in Love that I think I'll put a link to below if you want to know more about this. So I have an impulse buy that I had. I was looking through a record store the other day, and I saw this Rick Springfield, Working Class Dog. This has Jesse's Girl on it. I grew up with the song. I really like it. And also, it was a Japanese pressing that has in the original shrink wrap with the original obi and the original insert with all the lyrics and stuff in Japanese. I just couldn't pass it up. It wasn't very expensive. It's all in mint condition. I spent 3.5 years in Japan myself back in the early 80s. Went to university and worked for some Japanese firms. So I used to be fluent in Japanese. And when I looked at this and saw, whenever I see something in Japanese, I pick it up and look at it. But also I noticed that they don't call this album Working Class Dog. In Japanese, they call it Jesse's Girl. So they changed the name of the album to the title of the hit song. Show you, this is the first Japanese pressing. There's the label. And I'll show you the back of the beautiful Rick Springfield. So great album, impulse buy. I wasn't looking for it, but couldn't resist it. And another surprise for me, I was down at the coast, and in a small record store there, I came upon a first pressing of Pearl Jam Vitology. Any Pearl Jam record, especially the early ones, to find a first pressing to me is just almost impossible. I always look for them and I never find them. So this was quite a dream for me. And I'll show you in here, it came with the original record sleeve. It came with the original booklet that comes with it. It has a list of the songs on the front, but the inside are all little articles and things that kind of go along with the name of the album, Vitology, whatever that means to the group. They just added a bunch of really interesting things and inserts. It's like an 8-page book. And this is all in mint condition, and everything is still there. So I was really surprised to find that, and I'll show you the inside of the album as well. So beautiful, fun album, great music. They had like a couple of 2 or 3 singles that they put out from this album, which they did okay, but Better Man became a #1 hit, and it was never released as a single, which I think is fascinating. The next album I want to show you, Nick Cave. Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. This is called Tender Prey. This came out in about '88. I've been listening to Nick Cave. I like his really early stuff with Birthday Party, which is more punk, like post-punk goth music. It's so fun. I really like his music. It's really kind of dark, and I kind of like dark. This album is alt-rock, new wave. There's a song on here called Mercy Seat, which is an incredibly, I just love this song. It's kind of repetitive, and it sounds, you have to listen to it. It's just incredible. It's been covered by a number of people, including Johnny Cash did a really cool cover. But it's a song about a man going to the electric chair, and it's worth checking out. It's a great album. This is the first pressing that I just happened to come upon. Very happy to have it. And then we're going to go even darker. I don't have a very big punk collection. I don't have a lot of punk. And I wanted to get into it more because I really kind of like it. But this particular album has another little piece to it. There's a song called Hybrid Moments that I actually listened to by another band called Helvetia. It's a band out of the Northwest area here. The guitar player, singer, and sort of songwriter for that band was also a bass player in a band called Duster that I also really like. I've seen these guys live. Helvetia is a great band, really interesting music. Check them out. I may do a video on them someday. But they do a song called Hybrid Moments that I just love. It's just beautiful. And I noticed that it didn't exist on any of their records. It was only available to download. And so I did some research, and I realized that this is actually a cover song by a band called the Misfits. And this is on their Legacy of Brutality album. And finding anything by the Misfits that's an early pressing is, again, just like Pearl Jam, is really hard. I was looking for this album for quite a long time. I didn't want to buy a repress of this. And there's a record store in town. I noticed on Instagram that he posted this, so I called him up immediately. Thank God I was the first one to call him. He got several calls about this. It's a second pressing on translucent black vinyl. Plan 9 record label. I'll just hold this up real quick. Beautiful album cover, very, very, punk. And it has the song Hybrid Moments on it, the original version, very punk. And I just really wanted to have this album, and was surprised to be able to find it. The same day that I found this album, went and picked it up, and I went into another record store and thought, well, I'll see if I can, what they have in the Misfits here. And so I went and looked in their Misfits section, and I found a first pressing of another album by them. So I picked it up. Die Die My Darling. This is a 12-inch, 2 songs on it in 45 RPM. It sounds really good. Again, Plan 9, and has 2 songs on it. One of them is called We Bite, and one of them is called Mommy, Can We Go Out and Kill Tonight? Great song titles. Did I show you the back? It's beautiful. I love the artwork on these albums, and so I'm slowly building my punk collection and enjoying it. I'm happy to have a second pressing and first pressing of albums by a band that are hard to find. The last album I want to show tonight is kind of a grail for me. This is Kenny Burrell. One of his most popular albums called Midnight Blue. Stanley Turrentine plays tenor sax on this album. It's a first pressing in mono on Blue Note. It's in really good shape. It sounds really good. I don't see these very often, and so I was really happy to find it. This is recorded in the Rudy Van Gelder studio in New Jersey. It's kind of soul jazz. If your ears have not already been bent by the dissonance of lots of jazz or prog rock or some of the more interesting classical music, and you mostly listen to pop and you want to explore some jazz, this is a good place to go. This album, it's a mixture of blues and jazz, and it's not too hard on the ears. It's a nice introduction to jazz. I love this album. It was great to find a first pressing in mono of it, and been listening to it a lot. So that's all I have for you today. If you like what you see here, please subscribe. When you subscribe to these channels, you're showing your support. And those of us who put these videos out love to know that we're seen and that you like what we're doing. If you have any comments, please leave them below. If you like it, please like. If you subscribe, you can also ring the bell and you'll be notified when my next video comes out. So thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you soon.